And it's just a good example of what you can do with just a very ordinary horse, if you just put your time into it. Very nice bend. So when we talk about real bend, we talk about bend in the middle of the horse's back. So often we see horses, I looked at one yesterday that had scored a 75% and there was absolutely no bend in the horse whatsoever, which I find absolutely amazing. I had nothing but bend in the neck. So the point being is that the back is not up. By bringing the back up into the correct position is what loosens the back. Just like you or I, if you lean over, it loosens your vertebrae, whereas if you arch your back this way, it becomes very stiff. So if the horse arches its back down, the back becomes collapsed, the vertebrae become locked. So in order for a horse to become laterally supple, it has to be longitudinally supple first. The back has to come up before the horse can bend from side to side, because the back has to come up in order to free the vertebrae so that they can bend. All right? That's why the foundation is so critical, that we never lose that as we go up. That's why the neck must never be bent more than the body of the horse. If you ever see people twisting horses' necks from side to side, should instantly run in the opposite direction, because they know nothing about what they're doing. Bending a horse from side to side of the neck will slow a horse down, but it will never make them, it will only make them behind the bridle and behind the leg. The neck is easily, bent from side to side. It's the back that we have to worry about. The middle of the back, when we talk about bend, is where bend comes from. So see how this horse is like wrapped all the way around her leg from head to tail? It's like one big, like a C around her leg, bending in the middle. That's what we want to see. But that can only happen when the back comes up and is developed correctly. We see with this horse also, no matter how high a level a horse is, they all start in the same place every day, in the stretch, getting their backs warmed up. And then we bring them up to however high they can come, depending on their level of development on a given day. So that means that a horse that's correctly trained, if it sits around for a month, just like if you sit around for a month, you're going to lose a lot of muscle condition. A horse is the same way. So a horse that's just had 2 weeks off, you cannot expect the same amount of collection out of as one that has been working every day, because they're not going to be able to do it. It's strength development. So we have to keep strengthening those muscles. And if for some reason, even like this winter, because the rain was so bad, we had so many days that we couldn't use the ring that, this horse lost a lot of physical condition due to it. So we have to back up. Now that we're back to regular work again, it will take a few weeks to bring her back to where she was. Happens very quickly, but that's the biggest mistake people make, is they have this idea that the horse can just, once it learns something, that's all there is to it.
Sorry.
But that just has to do with cues. What we find in here is that a lot of people know the cues.
2 holes, I think I did,
all
Karen.
these various things. I mean, they know to put your leg here or there, but they don't realize that all those various, all the movements of Grand Prix can be done with the horse completely hollow in the back. They see it every day at the dressage ring. They're not really doing dressage, but they're doing something like the movement. Hey, perhaps. So this development of the horse's top line is really what dressage is all about. The rest of it is just teaching cues. Notice how nicely filled this horse is behind the saddle. There's no big dip back there. What you doing, honey?
I rode in her saddle. And
I'm not happy being a dressage queen at the moment.
Being a dressage queen at the moment, is that what you said?
Let me have my diva moment.
So now she's just warming up in a working trot. Notice there's no compression in the back end of the horse, but she's swinging nicely under the body, engaged through her top line. So she's going to go through some lateral work just in the rising trot. One big thing for those of you who haven't spent much time here is to take home is how important the rising trot is, and how we have to warm the horse's back up to be set on. The other big mistake that so many dressage people make is they think that you're not doing dressage if you're not sitting to the trot, and they sit and sit and sit until the horse's back collapses, and then the horse is like this and it's got a sore back, and they keep going, and then they crank the head down. You have to be careful with the sitting trot. And on young horses and horses whose backs are not up at all, you shouldn't be sitting at all. And the biggest mistakes I see made here is, people have read these books from the Spanish riding school and places like that say, oh, you should lunge people without stirrups, blah, blah, blah. Well, they forget in the book to say, that works if you have a 15-year-old schoolmaster with a perfectly formed back to do it on. You put somebody on a lunge line on a green horse, which we see all the time, and then take away their stirrups and let them pound away on the back of the horse for an hour, what do you think the horse's back is going to feel like the next day? You know, that back is the most sensitive thing. We have to, you know, think of it as an organ, so to speak. That preserving its strength and correct position is absolutely paramount to dressage work. Is really what dressage is. So the happy news is that those of you who've, you know, set to the trot till your seat bled, is that you should never do that. It isn't good for you, and it isn't good for the horse either. It will destroy your back. So I say it's very telling how, you know, I'm going to be 60 years old next year, and I've been doing this since I was 5 years old. My body is in, knock on wood, perfect physical health. I have no joint problems, no anything. Almost all the riders I know of my generation who've been doing it as long as I have, most of them are having hip replacements, or they can't ride anymore because their backs are so destroyed from sitting incorrectly. So bad riding will not only destroy the horse, it will destroy you as well. So now she'll do counter canter in the other direction. So this is a procedure that you want to go through with your horses. These things, you know, before you do flying changes, you always do counter canter first. That's why when we sometimes get hunter horses that have been taught automatic changes, no, they've just made them so that every time they change directions, they automatically change. Those are the hardest horses to do dressage on, because it's very hard to get them to stop doing that once they've been doing it for years and years. So we always have to have the counter canter before we work the flying changes. Be sure that we can keep the horse in the canter that we want. Because as we start to do tempi changes, which this one's going to do on the next diagonal, she's going to do like 3/4s on the diagonal. So we're going to quickly go through her tempis. Something drop on you? Sky's falling? So now she's going to do 3 changes in 4, which means she's going to do a change with 4 strides in between. Like that, nice and even. Boom. Now she's going to go across the next diagonal and do 3 changes in 3. Everybody count the strides and be sure she does it right. Very nice. Now on the next diagonal, she's going to do 5 changes in 2. What's that? Those are 2s. Just a second until I understand. There, very nice. All those were clean. Very nice. Now she's going to bring her back down to a trot and give her a little stretch, and then we're going to work on what this horse is learning right now is flying changes every stride, which is the hardest thing to do in all the Grand Prix tests. So we're going to give her a little rest before we go to that, just to be sure that we separate it. Sometimes also when we're teaching this, the 2s can become very difficult. So that's why with this horse, and that was like that for her. So I wanted to really separate it in her mind that the 1s are a thing unto themselves, you know, at this point. And we'll give her a walk and let her just stretch out in the walk for a moment. And we'll give her a little breather. And go back to just letting her stretch in the walk. Now, the flying changes every stride are physically the hardest thing. It's almost like a new gait, really, you know, as opposed to the, you know, changing with, because the horse is never, you know, doesn't complete, it just completes a stride and changes and changes. So it's a whole entity unto itself. Hardest thing in the Grand Prix test to do, no doubt about it. Everything else is really not that hard if you have a horse to do it. But the timing for the riders as well takes the most. It is so fast because you've literally got to be asking for one flying change when you're halfway through the other one. And of course, with this horse, this is a horse that took us about 2 years to even get a flying change on because she was so crazy about it. So it took a lot of patience with this one. Very nice. And then as she reaches the end of the long side here, she'll bring her up and develop the working walk and then back into the canter. And then we'll begin the school in 1s. And what we'll do is simply do a single change on the side. We'll do 2 simple changes, just go doing 1 stride at a time.
Doing good.
So coming back towards us. And go on the inside track always good when you're working these ones to come off the rail a little bit, because the horse sometimes will be afraid to throw their shoulder into the rail a little bit. So we want to come a little bit on the quarter line. And she'll ask for a single flying change. That is a single one. That is, she's going to simply change right and left. Immediately that. So just 2 changes in one. Let's see if she gets it. There she goes. Very nice. Very nicely done. Now take her on the diagonal and do 3 ones. No excitement. Horse just as relaxed as she's been. 1, 2, oh, almost. Yep. And we'll try it again on the next diagonal.
She's learning.
She's learning. That's what we don't. The cardinal rule here is of classical dressage is repeat, don't beat. Don't beat, repeat. There's no reason to beat the horse up. Just go back and do it again. There she goes. Very nice. And that was beautiful and clean. So she'll immediately walk and pat her on the neck. And I will give her a sugar. Because that was so good. There we go.
Oh my gosh. Why is it
Now develop the working walk. So now we've done that, we're going to come back to the canter and work a couple of pirouettes.
What exactly is a canter pirouette, other than the,
Well, the horse is
turning in the canter?
Well, that's what they're doing. That's all they're doing. But they're literally cantering in place. So the horse has to canter in place.
And turn.
And turn.
Okay.
Right? Which you'll see her do here in just one moment.
Well, she did it yesterday, too.
Beautiful. So wherever you'd like to do them, that's on the circle here will be fine. Pirouettes. Pirouettes.
What are we doing?
I thought you heard me. Sorry. Pirouettes. Not bad. Widen your circle. Very nice. Let's do that a little again. I just want a little better rhythm. She got a little hoppy behind. So let it stay a little wider. Come around in stride. Good. Very nice. Then go on. Very nice and rhythmic. Change across the next diagonal and do a single flying change. Now notice how loose the curb is, folks, when you see her in the double bridle here today. When you go to these shows today and you see people with their curb rein straight back, what does that tell you? Exactly. These doors are being held together by the curb rein. The curb rein should, a correctly trained horse should be like this, just relaxed. And whenever you're ready. And we'll circle here and work the pirouettes. Oops. Got our little extra juice there. Very nice rhythm. Now see how she didn't shorten the back leg that time? That's what I was looking for. Didn't get hoppy. That's what I'm looking for. Very nice. And back to a working trot into the stretch. Very nicely done. Big stretch in the trot. Good, like that. Good now. So now today, after we've done all that, which has just been a warm-up for what we're now going to do, which is just to see if the horse can come up into collection or not. As I said, she's been a little inconsistent here over these last couple of months.